This is The Blockchain Show. The Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology. This is episode number 69 with Joseph and Chris from Lannister Holdings.
Hello and welcome to The Blockchain Show. And today we've got with us Joseph and Chris. And we're going to let them introduce themselves and give us the elevator pitch and tell us what they're doing on the Blockchain Show and what they've got to tell us on this wonderful day. So, Joseph, I'll let you kick off.
Awesome. Great to meet you, Ian. And thank you so much for having us on. It's a pleasure to be here. We're fans of the show and obviously in the industry. So love the opportunity to come out and talk about blockchain technology and the use cases moving forward. My name is Joseph Snyder, and I am the CEO of Lannister Holdings. We are a publicly traded blockchain development and utilization company. Our internal focus is on developing our real estate lending platform on blockchain that's designed to facilitate the development of blockchain technology for real estate origination, servicing, transaction, and ultimately securitization, all within decentralized secure ledger technology. And my job here is to let amazing people do their thing, really. So we're a full stack development company, and our team is focused on building out and working with the blockchain technologies, both in our segments and our verticals and our internal focus, as well as for all of our clients around the world that need blockchain development done and smart contract work done and et cetera, et cetera. So that's who I am. That's who we are. Our ticker symbol is, we are publicly traded in the US on the OTC market. Our ticker symbol is NBDR for no big deal, right? That's not actually what it stands for, but that's how I remember the letters. And with that, I'll let Chris introduce himself.
My name is Christopher Brown. I'm the CTO of Lannister Holdings. I'm in charge of putting together this entire dev team that we're just hitting the ground running with, and as well as designing and building our actual lending platform, and then the additional technologies that we're working on and envisioning that we can build with these new pieces that we're finding as we go. It's a really exciting time to be inside the blockchain world, in the blockchain communities. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of change happening all at once, and it's the best possible place to be at the moment. So again, thank you guys for having us on. This is amazing.
Not a problem. It's always interesting to find out about new elements of the blockchain and where it's being used. And over the last 6 months, it's become more and more mainstream. And I was speaking to Gartner yesterday about it, and so many more companies are actually looking into it and using it. And so this use case is quite an interesting one. So tell me about your typical customers.
We have a multifaceted viewpoint on the work that we do. There is a segment of our business, and as I said, we just recently did a merger and went public in the United States. And so there is a segment of our business that is our internal focus for our real estate note transactions on blockchain platform. And in that particular vertical of our business, our typical customer is on one side, it is an experienced real estate investor looking to borrow in money to purchase a multi-unit income-producing property. And the reason that we're focused on that vertical specifically is that we think that there's a lot of room for growth in that sector. The real estate investing market in the U.S. has been somewhat of a stagnant and kind of a tougher market for the last decade, justifiably so. It was extremely hot for a little while there, and there's, the pendulum seems to swing each way. But we drilled down into that customer type for that business model specifically because dealing with experienced investors in a space allows us to test things and try things and work through different structures and different possibilities with a bit more flexibility than if you were just offering loans out to the general public, where you've got to comply with a lot of regulations and things around Ma and Pa Jones. And don't get me wrong, we're still in a highly regulated environment, specifically on that vertical. As a publicly traded company, we're also highly regulated. And then with the work that we do for outside development clients. Now, that's specifically pertaining to our focus for our platform and the utilization of the technology that we see as an internal use case. Our customer base on the other side of our business, which is actually full scope service development for outside clients, really just covers the spectrum on the development scope. I'll let Chris talk a little bit about what that scope is and who those clients are.
Sure. There's a lot of moving technologies here, and there's a lot of pieces that people are interested in building. And, when you come into saying that you do blockchain development, a lot of the thing you run into is people running ICOs, doing token events, things like that. And there's an entire realm of development that happens there. And that's very exciting, right? Like if you can launch a very interesting sort of gaming experience on, say, the Ethereum blockchain, and that's very cool stuff, and it's very fun to build those projects. I'd say our major customers at the moment are transitioning over to enterprise clients, though. People looking for transportation tracking. We have some people in the oil and gas industries, other people in property title transfers and things like that, where you get away from the sort of cryptocurrencies and the wide public blockchains, and you start to get into enterprise level business blockchains and developing products using, say, Hyperledger and things like that. That's where to me the world gets very interesting, because then you're solving very high level problems and you're doing it in a distributed way, a decentralized way that really changes the game in a lot of these industries. There was an article I saw not too long ago about the Bank of India has a partnership with 3 different lending institutions, and they're running a blockchain between them to know who is asking for loans and who has taken out credit and things like that on a very instant basis, with a consensus built between the 3 agencies. So while it's still a public ledger and while it's still a decentralized ledger, it has a very specific use case and solves a very specific problem. And as we find those problems and use cases, and as we find clients who can really implement tools that are exceedingly effective for their problem, we get to build really awesome things.
The name Lannister really caught my eyes, and I how'd you guys come up with the name? Is it one of your last names, or?
No, we actually were just going through names as almost businesses have to do nowadays. And we were looking for a couple of things. Because our internal focus is on developing scaled technologies, and again, specifically in the financial sector, we wanted a name that kind of resonated an older world feel, but was still technologically current, if you will. And so it was a name that we came up with from a perspective of looking at lots and lots and lots of different words and the commonalities between them and the connections between them. And this name kind of came out to us. We are also fans of certain media properties that I won't name that do have these names in them as well. I can't say there's no influence, but this name was picked out of. We had a list of about a dozen different names that we tested and tried. And it was really picked strategically to embody the sense of scale and scope and kind of an old world mentality when it comes to the utilization and deployment of capital, along with a new world mentality of trying things in a different and unique and varied way.
So do you hope to be feared or loved? That's a joke.
We always hope to be loved. We're good old fashioned West Coast hippies. So we always hope to be loved. There's power in a name, and for us, it was about drilling down into the meaning of names and the feeling of names. And our team really kind of, I think there was probably 6 or 8 people on our team that just sat on these and kind of played with them over a couple of weeks, a weekend or a week's period of time. and came back with their thoughts and their, I don't know, I guess vibe is kind of a West Coast word to say there, but that's really the truth, you know. And everybody kind of came back and said, you know what, I think this one fits. You know, it's got that sense of aristocracy, and it also has that sense of chic to it. So I think it's come off well.
Yeah, well done. It worked on me. So, Ian, what do you think?
I think it's pretty interesting stuff. So if you've already got a platform and it's already there, what are the developers working on today?
Well, the developers are working on the platform. There is that piece, but so Chris, I'll let you go ahead.
No, absolutely. The developers are working on the platform. This is not an in-place platform. It's currently being developed, but the developers are also working on outside projects. We're taking in outside contracts. We're developing an actual blockchain development team as a company, as its own set-alone company. Being a publicly traded company gives us the ability to have Lannister Holdings be a holding company, which gives us multiple avenues and multiple sources of revenue, intellectual property, and other routes to go with a company. So we built this team around. I mean, the initial core team was built around starting our project and building the platform that we want to see and that we're testing and doing lending on. But from there, we found that we can bring in contracts from the outside world, from the business world that exists around us, essentially, and start to really create awesome things. And in doing so, we get to build a really interesting company in the software development space.
And the demand side of that has been really phenomenal. I mean, we have had the most engaging and interesting and challenging and sometimes ludicrous. I mean, we talk with different companies all the time about their ideas for a token utilization or their ideas for a token offering. And we're not legal experts or anything else like that, but we believe that the future of the token utilization is in a regulated, probably securitized space. I think if anybody's looking at the world of the crypto tokens or cryptocurrencies, that it's pretty apparent that the powers that be can't and probably shouldn't just allow these things to go willy-nilly. There has to be some structure. There has to be some regulation. If you are selling a security, then you need to recognize it as a security, things like that. But and so we think that those use cases go that direction organically and naturally. And so we get to hear a lot of these ideas and we get to work on some of these things. But the amount of interest across the spectrum, healthcare, transportation, logistics, financial services, risk management, all the way to, like Chris said, oil and gas, is really, really, really interesting. And we get to play with that on a daily basis and really drill into people's ideas and their thoughts about the use cases. And so that opens up a whole new world of possibility for us. And I think as the CEO, and I look around at the team, from a kind of an overview perspective, it adds a lot of power to the team that we have, and it adds a lot of energy and momentum. Being able to use these technologies in various ways and deploy things and develop things and test things for multiple different verticals that have some commonalities, have a lot of differences. It adds a fresh, empowered, energized perspective to the work that our team does. And I think it adds a lot of ancillary value on top of the fact that it happens to be a very in thing. There's a lot of demand, and the revenue seems to be a very solid case for our business.
Great. And out of interest, with your customers, why are they looking to blockchain? Is this something which they feel they want to do this from security of transactions, or are they trying to stream a line of business or create a new opportunity?
That's a great question. I would say yes.
Of course.
Essentially the answer is all of the above, depending on the use case, depending on the business, depending on the entrepreneur or business person. Basically, yes, all of them.
And then also some of it, I mean, is projects that we have to have a very kind conversation with people and say, just because you want to add the word blockchain to that does not make it a use case. and that happens quite a bit, because I think there's a disconnect between the understanding of what blockchain is and then in some cases just a desire to attach to the coolest sounding thing in the room. There's an iced tea company that I won't name that had a use case similar to that I don't think is a sustainable way to grow a business or justify a development scope. You know what I mean? I think security is really top of mind when we're looking at the use case, like on a real estate finance or a real estate note transaction or a real estate securitization point of view. We're really looking at it from a security standpoint, yes, but primarily I'm a businessman. I've got to look at it from a utilization standpoint for my prospective long-term customers. And when I'm looking at that and I'm building out and saying, I want to build out a real estate finance platform that does this with these real estate notes, I'm looking at the cost basis of the middle of that market, right? If you've gotten a loan, if you've gotten a mortgage, you know that over a 5 or 6 year period of time, which is about the average length of a 30-year mortgage, that note is going to get sold 3 or 4 times between different parties on the back end, right? So you get your mortgage, you move into your house, everything's great. 90 days later, you get a letter from the bank, hey, XYZ is no longer a bank, now it's ABC. You don't care. You're writing a check, same check. Nobody cares. But on the back end of that, there's an entire system of processes and things that have to go into effect in order for that note to change hands and to be transacted between these companies. And what you see a lot in the financial industry is these large institutions, large banks, even middle market institutions, getting in trouble and paying, millions or billions of dollars of fines for what is essentially compounded human errors on the back end of a chain of a note or on a foreclosure proceeding or on, any of these kind of transactions where you have so many parties moving this financial instrument from place to place to place to place to place. And they're spending capital to have people do that, to review the chain of events, to transact the business, to move it from one place to another. And so when we look at it as a use case, and again, I got to come at it from the business side, I'm looking at if I could save a financial institution 8 or 12 or 13 points on the back end cost basis of moving this note around the system, what is that worth at scale? What is that worth over the long period, over the long term? And how much reduction of cost, reduction of onerous workload, reduction of paperwork, reduction of human error compounding going through a process where you have 10 or 12 different touches. What is that worth to the market as a whole, right? And so I think a lot of our customers are looking at their verticals like that, right? If you're in logistics, what is it worth to take that contract and follow it through? Or what is it worth to take those goods from source to market and be able to completely and accurately and securely follow that event all the way through? There's a lot of disruption potential in the space.
So if anybody's listening now and they've got an idea for a use case and they've mulled it over, how do they actually get in touch with you? And what is the process of coming to you and saying, hey, we've got a great idea for our business. Do you think this will work?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So you can send in, there's a contact form on our website. It's Lannister Holdings, HOLDINGS.com, LannisterHoldings.com. You can also reach us via email at contact@LannisterHoldings.com. We have just filed our trade name with the state of Arizona to operate our development end of our business. Our outside focused development end of our business is Lannister Development in Arizona. And so LannisterDevelopment.com is currently being built out by part of our front end team, and that'll be up very, very soon. So after a week or so from now, you can go to LannisterDevelopment.com and contact us there as well. But either one of those ways would get a hold of us, and we're happy to take all those phone calls. And we've got an amazing team of people that are very, very smart, very kind, and we really do take the time to work with folks and determine if their use case and their market focus and their business could actually truly benefit from utilizing and developing and deploying these next generation of technologies.
And what's the typical size of your customer and size of sort of project in that respect? Because
we're currently in a process of doing some financial work with the OTC markets and the SEC, we can't actually go into numbers right at this moment. We're kind of in a sensitive period with our regulators, and we're very, very careful with our regulators. We want to be working side by side with regulation around our space. Not adversarially to them. So unfortunately, I can't say a whole lot there. What I can say is this, is we're not going to judge a contract by its dollar value so much as by its merit. And, we've done very, very small things, such as just, auditing and inspecting. Our security team is our code security and security teams are world-class in my humble opinion. But we've done projects all the way down to just a simple audit of somebody else's contract before they want to go to market, because they want to make sure that their participants in their community don't get stolen from, things like that, all the way up to full scope development of oil field services blockchain technology for 7+ figure clients. So there's the full spectrum there. Sorry to not answer your question.
No, I totally understand. And the last thing we want you to be doing is sitting in front of the Senate or anything like that, trying to explain blockchain technology.
Yeah, I'll let Mark Zuckerberg do that. I don't want
to. Exactly that. That is quite an amusing thing at the moment. But the poor guy, all he's trying to do is meet women at university, and next thing he knows, he's changed the whole country.
Changed the whole world.
Change the whole world, yeah.
I'm slightly simplifying things here.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. But it is, man. It's a really exciting space, and there's a lot of development work that our teams are highly qualified and capable to do, and things that we integrate. Full scope traditional software development is well within our power and our reach, and something that we integrate with and around the different blockchain applications and utilizations, smart contract development, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But being able to engage with people like you guys, we went public for the reason that we believe that the scalability that we have, and the conversation that we can have with the market and the impact that we can make in this space, specifically in Arizona. And that's something we haven't talked about yet, but we're based in Arizona for a very specific reason. We believe that Arizona has one of the most supportive, progressive, and aggressive government mentalities about the utilization and implementation and legalization, legislationization, I don't think that's a word, for blockchain technology. The governor is extremely pro-blockchain. He's signed multiple bills just in the last 30, 45 days, creating a blockchain sandbox for the government, creating access to the government for blockchain development companies, legalizing people's signatures on through blockchain. It's a really, really, really powerful place to do business, specifically in this technology space. And so our goal is to work with community leaders, with legislators, with government, with universities, with other blockchain companies in a communal setting to make Arizona the blockchain tech hub of the USA. Seattle's got their Amazon flag. Silicon Valley's got all their, immense power. New York has its, finance end of things kind of wrapped up. And we believe that Arizona really has an opportunity here to plant its flag and come out of this with, just a really powerful tech-driven additional sector to the economy. And it's an amazing place to do business for sure.
That sounds quite interesting. And it's obviously some thought behind that. How does that affect a sort of global organization which may not be headquartered in the United States, for example?
Well, I don't know that it affects them, right? The idea for us is, we are a global organization. We are primarily a remote work company. That's by design. I love a lean, low cost, high revenue model. Give me that every day from a business perspective. But really what it's more about is your local governance. Global governance is one thing, right? Once you build and deploy and test something, you can scale it out and say, hey, look, this worked here. I have a use case. Can I do it here as well? And then you can kind of work around to get approvals and get things propagated and get things done, right? But that does require a localized effort to, and in some cases, approvals to deploy in the real world, to test in the real world. To actually, have a signature valid in the jurisdiction that you're in. And so we view it not as a constraint of, oh, we only do business in Arizona. That's not our case. That's not even where all of our people are. I'm literally sitting in California as we speak on this interview. So, but it's more an argument about where is this well tended, and where is this supported, and where is there political top of mind support and awareness. And we really found all of those things in the great state of Arizona and the communities there. ASU has been amazing. We just did a podcast interview with their blockchain team. Grand Canyon University has been incredible. The Maricopa Community Colleges districts are working on their blockchain certificate programs. And other blockchain companies, we've had meetings with Propi in Arizona. They're based out of Menlo Park in California, but they have a team in Arizona, and all these other companies there. That it's an inclusive space. It's not us going in and saying, oh, we want to, we're doing this and you're doing that, and and jarring for top man on the totem pole. It's really been a communal support program of everybody kind of looking at each other and saying, hey, there's a real opportunity here to make a splash and to deploy these technologies and to do it in a unified and cohesive and collective and supportive way. And man, that's just an amazing reality, and it's really, really powerful from an energy and movement standpoint.
That's interesting. So moving slightly off topic, what are the universities doing? Have you got a slight insight into what they're doing around blockchain? Because I imagine they've got many students in there that have heard about blockchain. They're playing with blockchain. It's very much a now thing which students would enjoy playing with. Have you got any insight into what the universities are actually doing at the moment?
So much. We do. Again, I can't speak for the universities. They are certificate programs, awareness, podcasts, entire grants around the space. Almost, I would say, I doubt anybody has announced it, especially at a state university level as of this moment. But I would say with almost great certainty that they are all working on programs, certificate programs, possibly even degree programs around the space with these technologies. There's no way to avoid it. And every conversation that we've had with universities has just blown doors wide open. It's been an absolute welcome mat. They want to hear about what we're doing. They want to talk about what they're doing. They want us to, engage with their student bodies. Our communications officer, Kyle, sits on the advisory board for the Angel community with Grand Canyon University. So there's a lot of attention in the space from an educational background. Chris actually has dual degrees from ASU, and we were just at ASU doing a podcast. Chris, do you want to comment on the university side?
Yeah, I mean, of course, they all have, everywhere has a blockchain club, and the CS departments all have their own groups of blockchain. But a lot of universities, especially a lot of the larger public universities, are coming up with their own blockchain research labs, essentially. I know ASU has one, for example. I also know UCLA has one, and I interacted with some people at Stanford not too long ago, and they're doing some incredible things up there, of course. But yeah, basically everybody's putting together their own blockchain research lab, and we're gonna have to wait over the next year, 18 months, 2 years to really see some very cool things coming about in this space. Right, from the universities, from the education perspective, from the research perspective.
Yeah, that's probably something we should delve into in a future podcast and actually find out what is up and coming and what the universities are actually doing for these students coming up through the ranks, shall we say.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we can have Kyle put you in touch with our contact at the Blockchain Club over at ASU as well. Maybe that would be a good conversation for you guys to have.
That sounds like a great idea. If you are listening out there and you listen this far, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast as much as we have. Joseph, do you want to give some final words on how people get involved with the company?
Absolutely. Everybody, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for listening. And please go, subscribe to the Blockchain Show on your iTunes account. Give them a 5-star rating. They deserve it. These guys work very, very hard, and they're very, very awesome. You can always reach us, LannisterHoldings.com, contact at Lannister Holdings. We are traded on the US OTC stock market under the ticker symbol NBBR, Nancy Bravo Delta Robert. And we would love to hear about your blockchain ideas and use cases, and or just say hello. And we really appreciate you taking the time to have us on today.
Yes, well, thank you both very much for joining us. Our guests today were Joseph Snyder, the CEO, and Christopher Brown, the CTO of Lannister Holdings, based out of Arizona. I'm sure they have a lot to teach us in the future, and talk to you again soon. Thank you, everybody, for listening today. Thanks, Ian, for joining us. Thank you, Sarah, for doing the artwork. Take it away.
Are you looking for an easy way to buy Bitcoin or Ether on a safe, secure platform? Coinbase is the easiest place to buy and sell digital currencies. Sign up today as a friend of the Blockchain Show, and if you buy or sell $100 of Bitcoin or more, you'll earn $10 of free Bitcoin for yourself and $10 of Bitcoin to support this show. Join now using the link in this episode's show notes at theblockchainshow.com. To learn more, visit theblockchainshow.com.